Hey everybody, and thank you for joining today's webinar. Today is going to be the second in a series of webinars that we're kind of continuing throughout the end of the year. I think we have 2 webinars each month until the end of the year. This one's really going to focus on drawings inside of ProjectTeam and everything that you can do with drawings. So I'll kind of go through the initial start, let's say uploading our drawings, reviewing drawings, marking up drawings, including drawings across other areas of your system, including contracts or maybe even in custom areas through something called a reference collection, and then kind of seeing how everything works together within the central system. And then, of course, we have the chat and the questions on, I think, typically the right-hand side of your screen. So feel free to write questions as we go through here, and either we'll answer those at the end of the presentation, or I'll send an email out along with the survey just to see if there's anything that we missed. So most of this will be review in the beginning here. Obviously you all are in the industry, but anybody that might be new, we do have a lot of attendees here, just kind of going over the basics of maybe why drawings are important and all that goes along there. So drawings certainly communicate the technical details of a project in a common format. So typically we have, and this is kind of the basis of what we have in our OCR, or our optical character recognition, or some call it text extraction. Typically drawings are in some kind of common format that we can all look at and share together, and that we know that we can pull information from as we go through. It's also important as we're going through on our drawings to be able to kind of manage our revisions in a common format as well, so nothing gets lost. Drawings are also kind of a measuring stick for compliance. So as we're working through the project, certainly there are different revision sets that go through as questions get asked through RFIs and observations, things like that. But we're always going to be referring back to our drawings throughout the entire project to make sure that we are complying with not only the drawings, but also the specifications. And then including up-to-date drawings. So obviously a revision set of a drawing in almost all cases would never be the last set that you'd be looking at. There's always new revisions and things coming out. A lot of people are collaborating on the drawings as we're going through the project and making sure that we're up to date and accurate, or having the most up to date and accurate drawings in everybody's hands as they're walking through the project, or at least behind their desk, is critical for eliminating issues, not only now, but also in the future. So having a current set of drawings, even after the project ends, people are going to be referring back to that for maintenance reasons, things like that. So it's important to keep all those drawings up to date. When we think about how to manage drawings inside of a system, specifically in ProjectTeam.com, there's a lot of different areas that we'll be focusing on today, but also just important things to kind of consider as you're going through the project. So number one, the ability to quickly upload drawings. You can do this in many ways in ProjectTeam. On all of our different form types, you always have the ability to batch import. So let's say I don't have a file or a set of files yet for my drawings. I do have kind of a reference or a list of drawings that I want to be able to maybe reference on things like my contract, if I'm building a contract, etc. I can always batch import, and that even includes without the files. If I do have the files, we also allow you to have something called OCR, or text extraction, where I can take an entire set, which I'll do in this presentation, upload that thing. It takes a couple seconds really, depending on the size of your package, and then it'll upload those things into the system and then break out the different pages. Beyond that, it's important that I'm able to distribute the appropriate drawings. So in ProjectTeam, I can upload drawings and keep track of different versions or revisions of drawings. Just because I put a revision in ProjectTeam does not necessarily mean that's the for construction set. Just like anything else, I could have a design review set of drawings as we're going through and making markups or trying to understand what else might be needed before we actually publish those drawings. It's important to be able to create those things and distribute accordingly. Once the design reviews are done, then I might publish or push that out to the larger project team. And typically that might lie in the hands of once it gets to the general contractor might be managing that process. As I mentioned, the ability to track revisions. So I will show you in ProjectTeam There is a spot to track revisions. Even if I'm uploading, it's going to automatically try to find the next revision based on the existing drawings that we have, but also you can always change that to update the revisions. So drawings can be used by themselves. A lot of, before having a system like ProjectTeam, a lot of people might have just a folder structure of the drawings, and I have multiple folders, or I might have one huge PDF that has 100 pages, and I'm just uploading a new revision set as I go along. Certainly not a very efficient and the best way to do that, but it's possible in that way. The thing that you're not getting in that case is the ability to reference those drawings across the other areas or entities on your project. So in ProjectTeam, certainly we have other form types, typical industry form types like RFIs, contracts, change orders, submittals. You can build issues, observations, inspections, all that good stuff, punch list items. And you want to be able to reference drawing areas or drawing, or even those different items on your drawings as well. The other thing that we're going to go over today is the ability to mark up. So this might be called annotations, or being able to redline your drawings. In ProjectTeam, you can include multiple different types of shapes, colors, text, pins, and a lot more. So I'll go through, probably step through each one of the different markup abilities that you have to make sure that it's very clear, and kind of maybe show you something that you didn't know before within the system. And then finally, the ability to download, especially when grouping drawings into packages. It's important to be able to view those things, and then maybe even download things off to your machine if you need them on for different reasons. So I'll show you how to do that as well. Alrighty, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to step into ProjectTeam, kind of go through. I think the presentation will probably be more like 30 minutes long as we go through the drawings. But certainly we have the full hour if there's a lot of questions, but I'll make sure that I answer all of that. So let me jump over to the system and go ahead and log out for now. All right, so of course, in our last webinar, I think it was even last week, we went over the intro to ProjectTeam, the general navigation, how to log in and navigate the system. So I'm going to skip a lot of that today. I am going to jump right in. So I have my email address, my password, I'll just log in. I get to the My page, I'm going to jump into a project. So click on projects, my demo sample project. In this project, I do have favorite form types at the top. Let's say because I'm really focusing on the drawing side of things at this point, I might edit this. I can even remove some of this extra stuff here, budget items, change orders. I don't really care right now for this demo. So I'm going to remove those things. That way it doesn't clutter my screen. But I do see these three important form types. I certainly could add more: punch list, field reports, observations, things like that might be also relevant to this drawings presentation. But for now, contracts, drawings, RFIs make sense. I see those three favorites also showing up if I click on this little forms drop down as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is jump into drawings. So if I click on the drawings icon, one of the things that you'll notice is at the top of my log view, I have two tabs, one for packages and one for drawings. I'll go over packages a lot in a second. The point of the packages is to group many drawings into kind of a common set. I might use packages for my permit set, my 30% complete set, eventually maybe my 4 construction set. That way everybody knows this is the latest and greatest of the published drawings that I should be working on. And it's important to be able to maintain your packages in that way. But for now, I'm going to go over to the Drawings tab. In the Drawings tab, we have two different views. I've got this nice list view here. This is going to allow me to go in here and search and find the drawings that I need very quickly. So in this case, I might be looking for A001. I type that into the drawing number and it comes back for me. I'll go ahead and backspace on there. In addition to the log view, we also have a thumbnail view. So this is going to give you very similar information from the log, but it does give you a little thumbnail here that I can kind of pass through and view this different information. I don't have an example of this, but just to note, if you do have PDFs or drawings that might have some kind of password protection to it, that will come through within ProjectTeam. So in this case, a password protected document might look something like this, where it's not going to show the thumbnail. And then once I click into it, it'll open up and ask you actually for that password. So you can set those passwords, I think, in your PDF views, and that'll still maintain in ProjectTeam. I'm going to go back to the list view. From this list view, I can see lots of different drawings here. I can also go in here, and if I just type the letter C, define, let's say, my civil drawings, or these ones that have been labeled or prefixed with a C. In this case, I see that I have two drawings that look very similar, but each is going to have a different revision number. So I've got an initial revision, or revision 0, and a revision 1. One of the things on the top of your log that you'll notice is I have this ability to show the latest revisions that I have access to. So this is kind of key within the system as people are creating drawings, maybe even like an architect. I'm collaborating the system with an architect. They might use the system to maintain their drawings, do drawing design revisions, things like that. There might actually be later revision of C1.1 or 1-1. I just don't have access to it yet. And they might eventually publish that to me, and then that would be the latest thing that I have access to. So in this case, I see these two revisions, 0 and 1. I can click into either of them. I have a couple different options here. I can click this expand, which will open this up in a full screen viewer. I'll go ahead and do that. Okay. So that opens up, I can see the entire drawing in a nice full screen view here. I can scroll around and view whatever I need to. Or I could have clicked on the subject or the title here, and this is going to take me to the detail view of the drawing. In the detail view, it's going to look very similar to the detail views of your other document types. We looked at things like RFIs in our last presentation. We're looking at drawings here. A lot of these panels are going to be very similar. So I've got a shared with panel, a details panel that looks a little bit different because I do have this nice thumbnail showing up. I can change the tab to just show my fields. So my details tab here. If I ever go back in to edit the detail information, it's always going to bring up my fields here. And this is also the area that you can certainly customize to show and hide whatever fields that you want within the screen. One thing that might be different on a drawing, but it's also similar to specifications, submittals, and then there's other document types, is this revisions panel as well. So in here, I always can see which revision I'm viewing, but I can always go back to earlier revisions as well. And in this case, if I go to an earlier revision, I do see kind of a banner on the top that just kind of tells me, hey, this is not the latest thing that I have access to. It's not saying that's good or bad. It's just kind of an FYI here to make sure that I'm always looking at the appropriate or understanding the appropriate information. Same thing though, now that I'm on this initial revision 0, if I scroll down to the revision panel, I can see I'm looking at this earlier revision, but I might jump back up to revision 1 to see that. The ability to jump back and forth within revisions is not just on this kind of this form view. I can also open this up to full screen mode. And in this full screen mode, you can see at the top here, I've got the ability to navigate to other drawings, jump to any other drawing, or navigate up and down my revision history here to be able to go through my drawings and compare these different revisions. Okay, so you always have the ability, not only from the full screen mode, but also the detail mode to go in and jump your revisions. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the drawings view here. Oh, one thing that I wanted to show while I'm here on this this view, I think I did show it in the introductory webinar as well. But as we're going through our different uploading our drawings, or maybe where things are changing throughout the system or whatever it might be, I have the ability, just like I showed, to go in and manually edit a form or a drawing, but I can also go through and do things like bulk edit. So in the case where I'm extracting data or using my OCR tools, in some cases it doesn't really make sense to OCR every little area of my drawing because a lot of that's going to be consistent. So in that case, I might just do something like a bulk edit. So let's say that I did add all of these drawings, they have all their files, all of this stuff got extracted, and all this is different, like the title and the drawing number, but the revision date, maybe even the revision number was all the same. In this case, I'm going to look at revision date. I don't need to extract that data. I can just bulk edit that data. So I might have a checkbox here. Same thing with like the design business, design contact, any custom fields that you add that might be consistent through one set to another. I can just go in, check all the ones that apply and uncheck things that don't make sense. But for this case, I'm going to check all. I can say bulk edit. It's going to take me to all of the different fields here. I can check as many as I want. So I might say this is a revision date. This was actually from the 5th. The design business was, let's say, ABC Construction. The design contact was Bob Smith. So I'm actually changing these 3 fields, but for all of those drawings all at once, I can say next. It's going to give me kind of a quick check here. Are you sure you want to change these? I'll say yes, confirm that. It takes a couple seconds. You can see that 29 drawings actually got edited at this point, and you'll see all of these different revision dates have been updated based on that bulk edit ability. Okay, so that's all kind of basic stuff. Some of that I went through in the last webinar, but just to kind of reiterate some of that in this, kind of looking at the perspective of drawings. Let's say though that I'm getting, maybe I'm ready for a new package. I've got some kind of document. I need to upload my new drawings, whatever it might be. I can always go into create a new package. So there's 2 buttons at the top, new package or new individual drawing. If I click new drawing, I have 2 options. Do I want to create one from scratch? Or do I want to create a next revision based on an existing drawing? And this is just going to put that thing in the stack as I create it. I'll skip that because that's really just filling out a lot of fields. What I do want to do is create a new package. Same thing. If I create a package here, it gives me a couple options. Do I want to manually create a package or create a new package using something like text extraction, or a lot of people call it OCR? If I say I want to manually create it, it's just going to allow me to go in here and start to type this information. So let me just say, here's my 30% complete set. And maybe I already have drawings. I can add some of these drawings that might be appropriate in there. Maybe I want to create new drawings, so I can just add the fields here and add the file later. I can manually do that in some way. This makes sense if I don't have the file yet, but certainly would be a lot of work if I already have a file and that file has 200 pages. It might take me, let's say, an hour or so to be able to add all those things in there, so not very efficient. Luckily, the other option that I have is the ability to create new packages through something called text extraction. So in this case, and part of this webinar, I want to kind of highlight that as a good, efficient, and modern tool that you can use. So I'm going to go ahead and use text extraction here. The first screen after choosing that option that I get says, what do I want to call the drawing package? Right now I have a subject and a general notes. Both of these are just fields of my form. If you have customized the name or the alias of these fields, that'll show up here. So if I call this drawing package title, that'll show up. If I call this, instead of general notes, comments or whatever, that'll show up. In this case, I'm just going to say this is my 4 construction set, and maybe I'm going to put a date here of 07/08/2021. I could have added that as a different field if I wanted to, but that makes sense in my subject here, and go ahead and save. The next page that I see is the ability to upload my different drawings. So I'm actually going to go to the left here. I do have some different drawings that I want to upload, so I'm going to go ahead and browse my computer. Let's say that I'm going to have this one and open those up. You can have as many different files as you want in this upload viewer. In this case, I added 2. I've got this C1-1 code analysis document, and I've also got some sample drawing package dash extra document. I might have 10, I might have 100 different files here. I can upload all of those, or I can just upload one. In this case, I have a package that I've actually joined a couple different drawings together in, and I actually have a package and kind of another drawing, that's C1.1, included in a single file called this extra. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this. So once you upload, you always have the ability to add or remove drawings as necessary to get the kind of the good set that makes sense. This makes sense for me. So I've got a 12 megabyte file here. I think there's about 16 pages. You could upload really a much larger file there. One thing that I want to kind of point out is our help files. So this is going to help you before I really get too far into the text extraction, how to make this most accurate. This is going to go through, make sure that you have a good vector-based PDF, something that the system can read the text from your file, how to figure that out. Text locations, how to set those things up. And then there's specifics for people that are coming from AutoCAD or generating their PDF from something like AutoCAD, and kind of the things to watch out for there, because Revit or AutoCAD can have a lot more layers and things like that that might mess with the ability to read your files. So it's just some tips and tricks to make sure that it makes that better. Either way though, this process is going to let you, at the end of this, go through a review process that's going to make this nice and efficient. So I don't have to upload one by one. I can still upload all of them and then just check my work. All right, so I've added my single file here. I'm at step 1 of 3, so I'll go ahead and go next. At this step, I'm going to actually open up my file and start to define my regions. So what should the system, what should ProjectTeam.com read from your file and populate all the different form fields? I'm going to go ahead and define my regions. This is going to open up that file, the thing that I just uploaded. You'll notice that at the bottom left, it's going to give you a count of your pages. So you haven't seen the file that I just uploaded, but if I just kind of scroll through here, you can start to see this is, you know, a 16-page drawing file. It's just something that we used actually to build our office here. In here, I can actually add my different markups anywhere on my file. A lot of other systems make sure that you have it just at the bottom right of your drawing. If you don't, you got to go back to your designer and say, hey, can you add the title block to the lower right, which can kind of be a pain. In ProjectTeam, we kind of ignore all that. You can add your different extraction areas really wherever you want. You can also add your extraction areas on any page. So really this step 2 here, where I'm defining my regions, is just asking you, find a page that makes sense, that might be your most common page, make your extractions on that, and then that's what we're going to build off of. Where that makes sense is, we didn't want to just make it your first page, because in some cases you might have a cool title page of your drawing set. Doesn't make sense to define your regions on that one. In this case, it looks like this first page does kind of make sense, so I'm going to define my regions. To define my regions, I'm going to go in here and click this little define regions icon and just start to go through and add my regions. I could do this at this kind of zoomed out layer, but I could also go in a little further. I'm going to right click and use the hand icon to scroll over. You can always right click and use the hand icon. Click on this extraction area and start to define my regions. One thing to note, that the regions are going to read based on everything that's encompassed inside the region. So making a region kind of really tightly around this A000 really doesn't make that much sense. So if I drop that in here and say drawing number, that's fine. It'll probably read that one, but on pages that are not exactly that size, it's not going to be able to read those very accurately. So you're going to want to kind of expand the text of your region without going too far, because remember, it's going to kind of encompass any or grab anything that is all-encompassing. So in this case, I've actually got these really nice borders around this drawing number. So I'm just going to draw a nice big region around that. I would doubt that the drawing number is going to be outside of that region at all. If it is, it's okay. We still have the opportunity to fix our mistakes later, but this really makes sense for me. So I'm going to say that A000 in this box here is going to be tied to my drawing number. This is the first time we're kind of seeing this little modal here, the text extraction fields modal. This is going to show all of the fields from your drawings form, including any custom fields here. So when you're extracting your data, you are not limited to just the drawing number and title. You can take anything. If I had other whatever fields, and for some reason there's some special text on my drawing that I need to be able to grab, maybe that's different from drawing to drawing, that's some kind of special thing, some kind of code or whatever, I could have that and extract that information from my PDF in this go. So I'm not really limited in many ways in ProjectTeam here. So actually, did I just cancel that? So I'm going to go in here and say this is my drawing number and add. Once I add that, you'll notice that this yellow box is going to stay, and if I hover over it, it does tell me that Josh added this. It doesn't really matter because that's always going to be myself, but it does kind of give me that clue. I can also go in here and add this extraction around this title block area and match that to my title. So I've got now this cover sheet or title block, and I've got the number down here as well. once I have that, I'm going to go ahead and close. It's going to show me the 2 different regions that I've defined. If I have a lot more, it would show those. And then I can process my files. What's happening here is it's looking through the different files that I have, given my different extraction regions, and extracting the data from every single page based on that region. If I go back, if I go back to my log, really I can go anywhere else in the system. This is going to process. I don't really have to wait here, and really I shouldn't wait here. And it's going to send me an email at the end of this saying, hey, your package has been extracted. It's ready for your kind of extraction review. Usually that happens pretty quickly. If I go back to my log before it's done, it'll just have a banner on the top of my screen that says, hey, this is currently in extraction review. Come back later, or we'll send you an email when it's done. Since this was a pretty small package, I clicked on that, I get back to the log, and it tells me that it's already complete for me. So I'm able to go ahead and click to view the results. Once I click into review the results, it takes me to this review page. There's a lot going on in this page, so I'm going to kind of go over what we see here. At the top of the screen, if I'm very confident, in this case, this package is a good, clean package. All the sheets are really nice and organized. So I might just trust ProjectTeam and say, you know what, this looks really good. I'm going to go ahead and finish and create. Okay, if I do that, it's going to say, hey, are you sure you want to do that? It's going to make your drawings and create your package for you. So I can do that, but for now, I'll say no, never mind. At any time, I could also say, you know what, I'm not ready. Maybe I uploaded this thing. I want to check it out to see how generally it's good, but I am going to go to lunch or whatever, and I want to come back later. I could always finish later, which is just going to close the document. I can go anywhere else that I want, eventually get back to my drawings, and then I see that banner is still available to me, so I can go in here and finish my review process. If for whatever reason I'm trying this out and everything is wrong and I did really bad extraction regions or just didn't work because I maybe didn't read the AutoCAD instructions or whatever, I always have the ability to delete my entire package here as well. So this didn't work at all. I'm going to go ahead and delete and start over. That's totally okay. Below this main title area, we do have on the left-hand side kind of an indication of all the different pages that we found from your file. So in this case, I can see also the data. So I've got A000 cover sheet. I can see in here A000. This cover sheet looks really small. If I jump in here to 200% or whatever and scroll over my drawing, I think somewhere I would see that cover sheet in there. So yeah, that looks really good. And maybe I'm going through and checking my work in this way. You'll notice that the cover sheet area is also on the right-hand side. So it says title cover sheet, drawing A000. Underneath of that, we have a revision number. This is going to automatically try to revision your new upload based on what already exists in the system. So in this case, I already had an A000. This is going to say, whoa, you already have an A000, so this is going to be a revision 1. If that's wrong and the system makes a wrong assumption, you can always go in and change that and say, you know what, this is actually unrelated to anything that I had before, or maybe it was A00001 or something, and we didn't catch that one because the extraction region wasn't big enough, and you can retie this to, revision to anywhere else that you want it to. But I'll cancel this for now because that actually does look right. Once I go through, I'm looking at A000, which is in blue here. I'm looking at this file, and I'll go back to fit to the width, I guess. And then on the right-hand side, I review all these different fields. You can see it is pulling things. Actually, I guess it's pulling the information, the drawing number and title, because that's what we just try and define in our extraction. Based on a previous revision, which is our revision 0, it already knows what the design business and design contact were. Okay, so that's really nice. If you remember, we batch edit or bulk edited that data from before. It's going to pull any of that information that it can find over to new revisions. Certainly here I can change these, but it's going to try to pull consistent data through. Once I look at all the different fields on the right, at the bottom here you'll see you are reviewing A00 cover sheet. I can say confirm and next. It's going to give me a little green checkbox at the top left, and it's going to go to my next drawing or my next sheet in my drawing set. I can do this very quickly here. Maybe I'm just looking really at the A001s, and here I'm just going to, let's say, just kind of eyeball, it looks decent. Actually, this is a good one. So If I go in here a little bit, you can see that this title was actually on 2 different lines. Okay, so it says egress plan code analysis on 2 different lines. We did recognize that and make it 1 line for your title block there. Okay, so if you had 2 lines, 3 lines, whatever, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't always have to be on a line, so you got to scrunch your data or something like some of the systems that we've seen. It will pull that data and give you a nice formatted output there. So let's say I'm going through here, I'm confirming and next. I can go through each of these drawings, I confirm and next, etc., and I'm jumping through. At any point, just like I said before, I might say, you know what, this is pretty good. I'm going to go to lunch. I'm going to come back. I can finish later. I can open this back up. All those things that you confirmed in the past are still going to show confirmed. So it does kind of save that data so that I know where to jump back into the system once I come back. One of the items at the bottom, so all these look really good. One thing to note is I don't need to confirm and next each one to be able to finish. This is really just kind of a nice check to allow you to finish later if you wanted to, but I can always just skip this and finish later. One thing that I want to go to the bottom here is I did add an extra file that says that was a little bit different. So in this case, I see the numbers down here, A005. I see the title block in here. That's been consistent with everything that we've looked at so far. However, if I look at this last one, this is going to look a little bit different, and it's throwing off the extraction regions. So this isn't actually matching everything that we've looked at so far. I think it should load in eventually. And you can see the title here, it looks really long and has like a paragraph of text. That's probably not right. What you can do is I can edit this. Code analysis, site plan, reuse. So I'm just gonna say site plan here because I think that's right. I can edit that and start to change this data, and you'll notice that it's automatically updating the information on the bottom left. Okay, so that data is always gonna go back and forth. And if I go back and forth here, it'll pull that information. The other thing that to note is if we don't find data, or if there just seems to be something wrong, we'll always tell you in this left-hand side. So this will say drawing number not found. Okay, and it's going to say file number 1, page number 16. That's what that 1.16 means. Okay, so in this case, we're saying, hey, there's something wrong with this file. We're not finding anything on it. It looks like, in this case, a blank page or something. We're trying to tell you, hey, something's wrong here. So you can make edits, or I can even, instead of confirming this page, I could even delete this page if I wanted to. Say this is just something extra. I don't really want this in my drawing package. In this case, I'll just go ahead and say finish and create package. Are you sure I want to do that? Yes. Take a couple of seconds here. It's going to package all of those individual drawings into my drawing package here, so I can view all of this information in this nice list view. If I go back to my drawing packages log now, if you remember when we started, we just had a permit set. Now we have a for construction set. I can click into that. I'm the only one that has access, but now I can see all the different drawing pages or sheets inside this package. Once I've done that, just like we did from the drawings log, I can always open up individual drawings here into my full screen viewer. One thing that's a little bit different is that even though I can go left and right, this is only going through the drawings of this in particular package. So it's not looking outside to the other areas. And that's why this revisions area is actually going to be disabled. So this is just showing the revisions inside of this package. I can't jump around in any way. If I wanted to do that, I would close over out of this. I'd go to the drawing side, and I'd kind of navigate in that way. Let's say that I'm looking at this egress plan here. I see this nice drawing. It's got lots of data on here. Maybe for whatever reason, I need to add some markups at this point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and say markups are going to be on. Once I add or turn markups on, you'll see this toolbar kind of right underneath, and I've got some left options and some right options. Mostly the right options are the new things. But if I scroll around my different drawings, the markups is going to stay on. So I don't have to turn that on every time I go through. It will just kind of stay. At this point, I want to kind of talk about the different options that you have from the markup areas. So if I kind of go from left to right here, I've got this measuring tool. Let's say that I want to jump in a little bit further. Let's go to 125. one kind of nice tip is if I right click on my mouse, I always have these common options, whether it's a pan tool where I can kind of drag and move around my drawing. I can right click and add a comment or freehand drawing tools or text tools as well. But I actually want to go around to this kind of this part of the building here, this big room. One of the things that you can do within the markup tools is to find measurements. So in this case, I might have a line. So I want to say kind of a distance from this wall to the end of this door here. I can add this. I can also add things like my scale. I can see underneath of this area, I do have this egress plan floor. I do have some kind of scale here. It says 1/8 inch equals 1 foot. So that's what I'm going to use in my measurements to kind of measure out what's going on. So in this case, I can add line tools. I can add all kinds of weird, I guess this is a perimeter tool, but I can add different kinds of shapes. I can add circles, squares for my areas. In this case, I'm going to add this kind of hexagon, which is just telling me that I can make any type of shape that I want. I can also do things like change the background color. So in this case, I'll have no background, and change the color of the lines. So in this case, maybe I have a blue line or a purple line for whatever reason. I can change the thickness, the opacity, all that stuff. I can also change my scale. I've actually, or I've already uploaded or updated the scale here. So this is my 1/8 inch, but I could change this to 1/2 inch just by typing in here, and really whatever you need there. And I also have these different options on my scale. So let's say that I'm going to add this area tool inside this room to check out what's going on. If I just start to click, you'll see now that I have this line. I can go in any direction that I want, but it probably doesn't make it very accurate if I'm doing that. The other thing that I can do is I can hold the shift key and it'll immediately make it a straight line. Okay, so if I hold this here and I just click shift, and you can't see me doing this, but if I just hold the shift key, you can immediately see it's going to make that thing straight. Okay, so I can now kind of go through this room and just kind of make a nice big area here, the best I can, and change these and make this as straight as possible, whatever, and then close my shape. Okay, once I've done that, I've got the area. I can hover over this, and it's going to tell me I've got about 2,500 square feet in this big conference room area, or this big open space. I can also click on this and edit what I've done. So I might say, you know what, I know that I added a purple line. It's kind of hard for me to see this. Maybe I want to add kind of a red shade in the background, and I want to make that not very filled. So now I've got this really nice big area there. If I go back to fill the width, you can see it's pretty obvious that something's going on there. And I do have that markup showing my measurement. In this case, I've got this area tool based on the scale here. The other thing that you can do is if, let me go back to 150. I use my pan tool to go around here. The other thing is if I was making a line, let's say I do that. If I click on this, I can also do things like calibrate my line. So if you did have a little area on your drawing that already has kind of a little calibration, you can draw a line to do that and then calibrate to that instead of manually typing in your measurements there. But that's pretty cool. Same thing here. I've got this nice line tool. I can always change this. This looks a little bit thick, so I can go down in the thickness, maybe make that red and make it 100% opacity there. So it's called out really nicely, and then I can see that that room's about 40 feet long, and I can change that if I need to. So that's the measurement tool there. The next one is a pin. So what's nice in ProjectTeam is not only do I have my drawings, I also might have all of my other document types. RFIs, issues, punch list items, observations, etc. Now I can add a pin in there. So let's say that I'm going to actually go pan over to this room. Maybe I've got this large conference area. I want to add a pin, maybe for whatever reason, a blue pin for RFIs. I can look up requests for information, maybe add that there. I could also do an advanced search. Very soon in our next release, you'll actually be able to create new documents from a pin. Right now I can just link existing documents. But that's okay. So I've done that there. I can hover over there, that pin, and I can see that Josh Whitmer from ProjectTeam added this pin to the RFI right on this sheet. It is a live link, so I can click on that. It'll open up the RFI. I can read more about what's going on there. I can also see in this area here, I've got a link to the egress plan. Since I added the pin on the drawing, it's automatically linking that on this other document type. In this case, it's an RFI. that's nice for me there. If I kind of go through other areas of my drawing, let's say that if I'm going to pan here, maybe there's something really important about this occupant load area. I can add some free form text, and I can just maybe kind of circle what I think is important. Everything that I'm doing is going to be showing up on this left-hand side as well, kind of giving me a really nice activity history of all of these different markups, so that's kind of nice. I can also go through and add things like my text. So if I go back, maybe this area, this egress plan drawing, he has a lot of text in it. Maybe there's some important text, so I can say, you know what, this area here is super important, so I'm going to highlight that just by including that. You have different highlighter options by default, but you can also see any of these others. You can change these defaults by just changing your colors, and it'll give you a new default. I also have other textual differences, like I can add underlines. Let's say that I have kind of a little cyan or bluish underline there. I can add that. Everything that I do, when I hover over it, will always show me who's done that. Same thing with these squiggly lines or strikeouts. Maybe this information really doesn't make sense, so I'm just going to strike out that word, and I have that. So really a lot of different areas or things that you can do within your different markup abilities. The last couple ones that I want to mention are our shape tools. So in this case, I've got a square. Let's go somewhere up in my building here. I can say I want to square this document here, or this room. Click on that. I can change the thickness here to kind of call that out a little bit, but that gives me my square. Same thing with if I just want to kind of, call out something as more of a circle, or I want to do kind of a line tool to call that thing out, I certainly could do that. But you also have the ability to add, a typical construction cloud type of shape here. So I might go over to this galley and add my cloud shape. So I'm just going to go in and add this in this case there. Okay, and maybe I'm doing that and I want to add a pin inside of that cloud and tag that to some inspection that I've done that makes a lot of sense. So I can combine any of these different markups as I need. Again, anything that I do is showing up on this left-hand side. What's nice is if I add markups, somebody else, let's say somebody that I'm collaborating with, could go in here and reply to these markups and say, looks good, and say reply. They won't be able to edit my markups or anything like that, delete my markups. Certainly, I could do that at any point, but this looks really good, so I can say it looks good, whatever, and I can review those different comments. Once that's all good, the other thing that I can do is download. If I download a sheet that I've marked up, I can open that up, and you'll see all of these markups are going to carry through on my downloaded document. I can also hover over these, and it's going to give me kind of a post-it note based on the activities that I would have seen inside the system. But at least now, if I'm sharing this thing, it's not inside of ProjectTeam. I'm still having some of this data. So in this case, I see Josh Whitmer link this to an RFI, or if I hover over this, it's telling me 2,500 square feet. So that's really nice. If I take it off the system, all of those comments still apply. If I were to download this thing and open this up in something like a PDF viewer, like Acrobat or whatever, all of the markups that I've done are on a separate layer of the original file, and I can still see those things really nicely categorized in those other files. Alrighty. So I've done a lot with my markups here. The other thing that I want to just quickly note is that I added these markups and I downloaded the marked up file, but we also have this blue download button, which is going to download the original file as well. So in a lot of cases, I don't want this extra crap in something that I'm sending or whatever. I can always download the original file, which is a nice clean version of this thing with no markups on it, and that's good to go for me. Alrighty, so I'm looking at this package. I can go through and look at all the other ones. You can see that once I do navigate, my markups are still on. I can add whatever I want on these different documents, add my text, add all these different things, but I'm going to close this for now. Let's say that I have uploaded my drawing package at this point. I've added my markups on the drawings. I haven't shared this package with anybody else, meaning that nobody else has these drawings at this point. I can always share, or like I said, let's say that I want to start a workflow and kind of workflow this package through some kind of design review or detail review or whatever it might be. So I can always go in and start my review process through a workflow. This is going to be a step-by-step process. I could do ad hoc steps through something called action items to pull other people in here. But in this case, I've sent this design, this package through a workflow. It's currently at step 1. I'm in step 1, so I can take action, pass it, go to step 2, and you'll see that it's going to kind of go through each one of these steps and track it along the way. This way, you can also report on this information, always see exactly where your different drawing packages are, etc. Okay, I covered workflows a lot in the last webinar, so I'm not going to cover it too much here. We will probably go over it again in upcoming webinars, but for now, I'll skip it. But it certainly is a really powerful tool that a lot of people use. And you can see that once it is in a workflow, I get this nice green banner at the top that also allows me to take my actions or jump right down to the workflows very quickly. All right. The next thing that I want to do is go over to other areas within the system. So let's say that I have my drawing packages, I have my different drawings. I could go to something like a contract. On contracts, you'll notice that there is by default a drawings tab. This is where I can link in existing drawings specific to my contract. So I was on the drawing tool, I clicked on forms, I went into contracts, and then I'm viewing my contract. In your contract, you have all kinds of good stuff, schedule values, etc. I'll review that on my next webinar. But really here, I can see all these different drawings included in this reference. I can always edit this, what we call a collection here. I can add existing drawings, so maybe there's more stuff here that I want to add. Very soon in our next release, you're going to be able to have a drop down here that's going to filter by package, and then I can select all just to dump all those things into my contract if I wanted to. But for right now, I can search and find and check the boxes as I need to. I can also add brand new drawings from here. This is going to be my files here, or my form fields here first, then I can add my files later. And the last thing that I want to touch on, because we have gone through a lot here, I think we're about 45 minutes in, so I said about 30 minutes, but we went too long. If I go to any other document type, the other really nice thing about ProjectTeam to kind of highlight the configuration ability within the system is I'm going to jump over to RFIs. This could be any document type. This could even be a custom document that you create called, my company's inspections or something. And let's say that on each whatever, you have a list of drawings that might be related to that thing. I could go into the customize, and this is going to be really more for administrators and paying companies. I can go into customize my form fields. I can add new fields. We do have this thing called a collection reference. In my last webinar, I went through a couple basic customization, I think a pick list and a text field. In this case, I can go through a collection reference or reference collection, say next. I can just call this thing, related drawings or DWGs. I don't need to name it anything specific. I can just choose the drawings that are related. So this is just some help text here. And then I can reference drawings. It's going to give me all the fields from my drawings. I'm just going to say these 4 fields make sense. Say next. Give access to this field. For now, it's just going to be me. And then I can go back to my RFI, and you'll notice on my RFI now, I've got this really nice table here of related drawings with that help text that we just added. If I edit this thing, just like it was on my contract, I can go through here and add whatever I want into this related drawings area. So really nice way to upload your drawings, mark up your drawings, distribute your drawings, workflow your drawings, whatever you need to do, and then incorporate your drawings everywhere else into the system within ProjectTeam, whether it's contracts, RFIs, inspections, whatever it might be. Okay, so I'll go ahead and save this. The other thing really quickly before I end out, it is going to give you a live link here. So now I can see these different drawings are related to the RFI. If I click on details here, it's going to jump right over to the details view of my drawing, which is kind of where we started. And just like I said before, you've got all these different panels, and I can see the revision history below here. Since I am workflowing this drawing across, I can see it's been automatically shared to Brian Rothery, who has actually never been back to view the document, but that's okay because I see this read receipt. All this information is kind of working together. Alrighty. So that's really it for the demo here. I do want to say that we have a lot of other demos coming up that certainly feel free to register for. If you go to our main website, ProjectTeam.com, you click on resources and go to your webinar schedule. That's where all of our upcoming webinars will be. Also at the bottom of the upcoming webinar list, it's also going to have the old webinars, so you can always review those if you missed one, and that's always there. And then kind of where do you go from here before I open it up to questions? There's really a few different paths. You can continue to learn just basics about construction management software. Maybe you're getting ready to have a new project and you want something, you're not really sure what to choose. You can continue your learning process by downloading our buyer's guide, which is lots of pages there. Evaluate ProjectTeam by going through our different brochures, and we have a lot of videos on our website. And then eventually, if you wanted to schedule a demo, more specific to your needs. Every company is different. We can kind of tailor these demos. Even on this webinar, I'm kind of going over generic kind of basic stuff. But if you want more of a one-on-one phone call, feel free to reach out to one of our product specialists.